Call this business meeting to order. Madam colleague, wingwoman extraordinaire, this lady had a birthday this past week, and you can't tell, she looks just as good as ever. But we hope you had a great birthday and a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Sheldon, how are you? Nice to see you, buddy. But I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Bernie, good morning. Wonderful Thanksgiving. This morning we're voting on several nominees for leadership positions at the Tennessee Valley Authority, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Federal Highway Administration, and the Southwest Border Regional Commission, as well as 18 General Service Administration resolutions. Before we vote, let me say a couple of words about some of the nominees that we're considering today. First, we will vote on Beth Pritchard-Gear, one of the President Biden's nominees to serve on Tennessee Valley Authority Board of Directors. As a native Tennessean, Ms. Gear has seen firsthand how economic development driven by TVA has lifted rural communities in her home state. Her years of public service, along with her experience of working closely with developers of renewable energy, will be great assets to TVA's Board of Directors. Next, we're going to vote on Joe Goffman, the President's nominee to be the Assistant Administrator for the Office of Air and Radiation at EPA. And throughout his time working on this committee and in EPA, Mr. Goffman has demonstrated a clear commitment to following the law in a way that provides cleaner air and safer climate for all, while also providing predictability and certainty for industry. Should he be confirmed, I have no doubt Mr. Goffman will work closely with members of this committee as EPA implements its historic climate investments in the Inflation Reduction Act. Third, we're going to be voting on Shaylin Bach to be the administrator on the Federal Highway Administration. Mr. Bach, as I think many members on this committee knows, brings with him an almost perfect resume for this position. And we're, in addition to his leading both departments of transportation in Colorado and in Delaware, Mr. Bach also has substantial previous experience in the Federal Highway Administration, along with involvement in the private sector and work at nonprofit transportation systems and nonprofit transportation advocacy organizations. I'm confident that Mr. Bach will bring the same level of outstanding leadership to the Federal Highway Administration that he has demonstrated throughout his career. I think everybody in this committee knows how important that nomination is, and I'm encouraged that we'll get him confirmed. Fourth, we will vote on Eduardo Sanchez to be the Federal Co-Chair of the Southwest Border Regional Commission, and last, we'll vote on 18 GSA resolutions. I will vote yes to advance each of these qualified nominees this morning and urge my colleagues to do the same. Finally, I want to acknowledge that this may be our last business meeting for the year. And at the end of the year, two of our colleagues on this committee will be retiring from the Senate after long and storied careers. I've had the privilege to serve with both of them in the Senate and in the House of Representatives before that. I knew Richard Shelby when he was a Democrat, and a pretty good one. But he's just continued to be a great senator, and we're going to miss him and all that he brings to it. And Jim, I'm privileged to speak, not only to serve with him on this committee, but he and I joined together in his hideaway with a bunch of our colleagues, Democrat and Republican, for Bible study with the Senate chaplain just about every Thursday. So, Jim, we're going to miss you in more ways than one. Richard will be retiring after, Richard Shelby will be retiring after 36 years as a member of the United States Senate. And in the days to come, we'll speak more about Senator Shelby's service to the Senate and to the people of Alabama. But I want to take this opportunity to thank both Senator Shelby for his work on this committee and for our friendship over the last 3-4 decades, actually. Also retiring, as I said, is Senator Jim Inhofe, whom I first came to know when we served in the House of Representatives over 3 decades ago. Longtime member and two-time chairman of this committee? 2 times. Once wasn't enough. Not many people have done that. So, and chairman of, I'm going to say Armed Services, right? Yep, that's quite a resume. Jim's been a great colleague to many of us, and we're going to miss his humor and his hard work. In the Navy, when people are ready to weigh anchor and sail off into the sunset, we like to say fair winds and following seas. So today I say those words both to Jim Inhofe and to Richard Shelby. And with that, I want to recognize our ranking member, Senator Capito, for any opening remarks that she may have. Senator Capito, you're right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank everybody for being here. Welcome back after the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm grateful for our ongoing partnership. I think we've done a lot as we end this first year together, and I look forward to doing much more next year. As the chairman said, we're considering 4 nominations as well as 18 GSA resolutions. I think at this point, everybody knows where I stand on the nomination of Joe Goffman as the Assistant Administrator for Air and Radiation at the EPA. Both throughout his previous service in the Obama administration and during the 22 months he has been at EPA in the Biden administration in a non-Senate confirmed role, he has made his leadership style and policy views clear. He's worked to develop regulations that harm our energy sector, will raise prices on American families and businesses, and are based on overreaching, illegal interpretations of the Clean Air Act, as found by the Supreme Court. As I said in our July committee business meeting, Joe Goffman continues to implement policies designed to force closures of baseload power plants through a suite of policies. Shortly after the Supreme Court's ruling against his own Clean Power Plan in West Virginia versus EPA, Mr. Goffman told the New York Times, "This case does not really take anything off of the menu we've been focused on. The fact that one of the most significant Supreme Court rulings in environmental law and rebukes of EPA authority did not change his regulatory plans affirmed why I strongly oppose his nomination. Today, I am also voting against one of the other 4 nominees, Beth Geer, to serve as the member of the Tennessee Valley Authority Board, based on her tweet of our colleague who's coming in, Senator Joni Ernst. By contrast, I will be voting today to support the GSA resolutions as well as the 2 nominations we are considering. I'm supporting the nomination of Shailene Bhatt to serve as the administrator of the FHA. The committee worked hard to develop bipartisan surface transportation legislation that serves at the foundation of the IIJA that was signed into law last year. President Biden waited a long time, too long, that's another repeating story you've heard me say in committee meetings, to nominate and leading for this agency, especially when the authorities and funding responsibilities provided to the FHWA as part of the IIJA. This agency needs a Senate-confirmed leader. I have expressed my dissatisfaction and opposition to a number of the decisions that the FHWA has taken without a Senate-confirmed leader, and because of that, I asked Mr. Bhatt some pointed questions about how he planned to implement the IIJA. The FHWA must faithfully execute the laws and preserve those flexibilities provided in the law for states to use funding to best meet the needs of their citizens. For some states like West Virginia or Wyoming, that may mean new capacity on our roads. For other states, it may mean a focus on electric vehicle infrastructure. Mr. Bhatt told me that he would commit to implementing IIJA as we enacted it. When it comes to the state's ability to move funds between formula programs, he committed to follow the law again and to upholding the state's ability to transfer apportioned funding consistent with Section 126 of Title 23. He knows this well, being, as the chairman said, a state administrator himself. He also committed to implementing all the highway-related project delivery and streamlining positions in the IIJA, including the one federal decision policy, as expeditiously as possible. I am supporting Mr. Bhatt's nomination today because of those commitments and his record of getting things done and projects that he has built as a past leader for multiple state departments of transportation. I also will be supporting Juan Sanchez, who is a nominee for the Southwest Border Regional Commission. If confirmed, he will be the first ever federal co-chair of that commission, and I congratulate him on his nomination. If I could take just a few minutes to say goodbye to our former chair and beloved friend, Jim Inhofe, and Senator Shelby. So I've known Jim a long time, and I first met him when I was from the House side, and we were negotiating one of the highway bills, and he was working with Senator Boxer in a way that was just magnificent to watch and resulted in really good results. He's been 6-year chairman, 6-year ranking member, and he is one of our most productive leaders. We all know, as I mentioned, the partnership that he had with former colleague Barbara Boxer, and that allowed for the passage of many things like Safe TLU, MAP 21, and the FAST Act. He and Senator Boxer put Congress on the right track in terms of passing water resource infrastructure bills in 2-year cycles. Well, hopefully we're going to get that done at the end of this year. Reestablishing the committee's important role in overseeing the Army Corps of Engineers Civil Works program. As chair, he led the efforts to enact TSCA reform, long in the making, one of the most significant updates to a major environmental statute in over 2 decades. He chaired this committee when I first came to the Senate, and he deserves immense credit for the tone and I think the bipartisanship that we've been able to see as Chairman and I have worked together. So we bid you a fond farewell. You will be missed, not just for your effectiveness on your committee. You are about to, in your advocacy role for our military personnel and our national security, hopefully get another win under your belt before you leave here in December, and we are very pleased to that. The people of Oklahoma will welcome you home. Kay and your children and grandchildren will welcome you home. I hope you don't get in their stuff too much, because that's what happens when you go home. And I wish you many, many years of happiness on your retirement. It's well-deserved. Senator Shelby has championed Alabama infrastructure for many years. He's the chairman also of another committee I'm on, Appropriations, where he's been instrumental in infrastructure legislation. Work on the Appalachian Development Highway System, important to Alabama, but also important to West Virginia. He has had quite a run as leading 3 committees, Banking Committee, Rules Committee, and the Appropriations Committee. He has vast experience and tremendous asset, and his success, again, is something that we should all take lessons from. We will miss Senator Shelby, and I wish him and his wife, Annette, a great retirement as well. And thank you for letting me go a little over there,
that's
Mr.
great.
Chair.
Thanks for all those words on behalf of all of us. We're going, in proceeding, we're going to recognize Senator Sanders for a couple of minutes, and then following that, Senator Ernst will be recognized. And I think we probably have a quorum right now. We're very close to it. We're very close to it. And when we do, we'll go ahead and roll through our agenda for today. Let me yield to Senator Sanders first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this important markup and for your leadership on this committee. Today, we will be considering the nominations of well-qualified individuals to serve in the EPA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, Federal Highway Administration, and the Southwest Border Regional Commission, and we will also be considering the adoption of GSA leases, including $18 million for much-needed repairs at a federal building in St. Albans, Vermont. Let me very briefly discuss my concerns about one of the nominees up for consideration, Joe Goffman, who has been nominated to lead the EPA's Office of Air and Radiation. I have nothing against Mr. Goffman, and I hope and expect that he will do a very good job in the position that he has been nominated for. What I am concerned about is the implementation of a provision that I worked on with Chairman Copper that was included in the Inflation Reduction Act to provide the EPA with $7 billion in federal funding for zero-emissions technology. The legislative intent of this program is to make it more affordable for low-income and working-class homeowners to install solar on their rooftops and save money on their electricity bills. And by the way, when we do that, we create hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs. If this program is implemented properly, it will provide solar to more than 2 million families in the United States over the next 2 years and catalyze up to 10 million residential solar installations over the next 10 years. Unfortunately, since President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act in August, I have been unable to get a firm commitment in writing from the EPA to implement this program consistent with the clear legislative intent. The $7 billion program was not put into the Inflation Reduction Act for nuclear, electric vehicle charging stations, or any other type of energy. It was included in this bill primarily to expand residential solar and reduce the energy bills of millions of low-income and middle-class families. So let me be clear. I will be voting for Mr. Goffman in this committee, but I will not support his nomination on the Senate floor until I receive a commitment from the EPA in writing that it will implement this program primarily to expand residential solar throughout this country. And I want to thank Chairman Copper for his leadership on this issue and look forward to our continued work together to expand residential solar, lower the cost of electricity for consumers, and combat the existential threat of climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Sanders, I'm pleased to be able to work with you and your team in order to reach such a commitment in support of solar projects for low-income and disadvantaged communities. Full disclosure, I got out of the Navy in '73, moved to Delaware, got an MBA, and the last course I took in my 2-year program at the University of Delaware was a course where we had to develop a manufacturing process on paper of a particular product, and I chose solar energy, solar panels, all those years ago. So this is not, I'm not a newbie on this. This is one that's important to me, and we'll continue to work with you and others. Let me yield now, if I could, to Senator Ernst. Joni.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to you and the ranking member for the discussion today. And I am speaking in opposition to Ms. Beth Geer to be a member of the Board of Directors of the Tennessee Valley Authority. In her written testimony before this committee, Ms. Geer had stated she believes she should be confirmed to serve the Tennessee Valley Authority because of her ability to, quote, build relationships and work together, end quote. That doesn't match with her recent past when she called either my GOP response to the State of the Union address or just me hideous. Ms. Geer and I had a brief discussion about this when she appeared before our committee earlier this year. And while her comment was only one single word, it said much more about her character. I do not believe Ms. Geer is fit to serve as a Senate-appointed position in which the nominee herself pointed to the value of unity and civility. Additionally, Ms. Geer has made concerning anti-fossil fuel statements in a time when the Biden administration's anti-energy policy has increased costs for all Americans. The nominee has not shown efforts to work in good faith to support an all-of-the-above energy approach like we do in Iowa, and which is critical to supporting those dependent on the Tennessee Valley Authority. And for these reasons, Mr. Chair, I am opposing Ms. Geer's nomination. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator Ernst.
We have Senator with us, so let's proceed to the votes and then recognize Senator Stabenow afterwards.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote. I think Senator Stabenow has some comments that she'd like to make at the end of the vote, and there may be one or two others as well. And Senator Inhofe, if you'd like to speak and talk a little bit and just defend yourself in the face of all this criticism, bipartisan criticism, you'll be given that opportunity. All right, let's see. First, I'm going to call up presidential nomination 1593, Beth Pritchard Geer of Tennessee, to be a member of the Board of Directors of the Tennessee Valley Authority. I move to approve and report the nomination favorably to the Senate. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Bozeman? No. Ms. Cavanaugh?
No.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Kramer?
No by proxy.
Ms. Duckworth? Aye. Ms. Ernst? Mr. Graham?
No by proxy.
Mr. Inhofe?
No.
Mr. Kelly? Aye. Ms. Lummis?
No by proxy.
Mr. Markey? Aye. Mr. Murphy? Aye. Mr. Padilla? Aye. Mr. Sanders?
Aye.
Mr. Shelby?
No by proxy.
Ms. Stabenow? Aye. Mr. Sullivan?
No by proxy.
Mr. Whitehouse?
Aye.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes by proxy.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Chairman, the yeas are 11, the nays are 9.
11 to 9, the nomination is favorably reported. Next, I call up presidential nomination 1832 for Joseph Goffman of Pennsylvania to be an assistant administrator for the Office of Air and Radiation of the Environmental Protection Agency. I move to approve and report the nomination favorably to the Senate. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Bozeman? No. Ms. Cavanaugh?
No.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Kramer?
No by proxy.
Ms. Duckworth? Aye. Ms. Ernst? No. Mr. Graham?
No by proxy.
Mr. Inhofe?
No.
Mr. Kelly? Aye. Ms. Lummis?
No by proxy.
Mr. Markey?
Aye. I'm sorry, no, sorry. I'm sorry. Let me come back. Aye. Nothing.
The ayes have it.
Mr. Murphy? Aye. Mr. Padilla?
Aye.
Mr. Sanders?
Aye.
Mr. Shelby?
No by proxy.
Ms. Stabenow? Sullivan.
No by proxy.
Mr. Whitehouse.
Aye.
Mr. Wicker.
No by proxy.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the yeas are 10, the nays are 10.
So the yeas are 10 and the nays are 10. And in that case, the nomination is not reported at this time. Now I call up presidential nomination 2401, Shaylin P. Bach of Michigan to be administrator of the Federal Highway Administration. Presidential nomination 2450, Juan Eduardo Sanchez of Texas to be federal co-chairman of the Southwest Border Regional Commission, and 18 resolutions relating to the General Services Administration. As members of the General Services Administration, As members of this committee know, we routinely approve GSA prospectuses by committee resolution. The resolutions we consider today are for GSA leases throughout our country. Members have had the opportunity to review these documents, and I believe them to be non-controversial. Therefore, we'll consider the nomination of Mr. Bott, Mr. Sanchez, and 18 GSA resolutions en bloc and by voice vote. I would just say before we vote to Senator Inhofe, we were talking before we started the hearing the markup today. There are a number of people that he and I serve with that are being honored in these resolutions by being named after buildings and any number of other things. So this has kind of a special meaning for us, I think. Okay. I move to report these items favorably. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The nomination resolutions are approved. I note for the record that a quorum of the committee is present, and that concludes the committee's votes as part of the business meeting today, and I thank all members for their participation. I'll now recognize members who'd like to speak on any of the filed amendments or the items we have voted on today. I appreciate everybody being here. Really want to thank our staff. This goes easily, this goes smoothly, but only because of the great work that our staff is doing. We thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yes. Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know Senator Inhofe is just leaving now. I did want to just wish him well.
Would you hold just for a second? I'd ask our colleagues to depart quietly. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted, before Senator Inhofe left, to say thank you to him. We had an opportunity. We worked on many things together when he was chairman, but when there was the lead crisis in Flint and the need to respond to that, I will forever be grateful for the partnership and work with you and your staff to address what was a serious issue, and I know it helped lead to a larger water fund that has helped communities across the country. But I just wanted to thank you in particular at a moment of crisis for working with us to be able to address it. So thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I did also want to just say thank you to the committee for moving forward Shaylin Batt, who is a highly qualified nominee to be the next administrator of the Federal Highway Administration.
I never heard of him. You know, he was our secretary in Delaware for a number of years. Did a great job.
I know. Well, and he's also a proud resident of Troy, Michigan.
I
so
know.
we claim him now, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. And so I just wanted to say we're very proud of him. I'm so appreciative of the president moving his nomination forward, and I look forward to partnering with him and Secretary Buttigieg and with you, and of course, all of us on the committee to deploy historic resources provided through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Thank the committee again for supporting his nomination.
Yeah. Let me just take this opportunity to thank you for your extraordinary leadership of the Ag Committee. Most people don't think of Delaware as a big ag state, but it's maybe the number one or number two component in our economy. And so
I think you have a few chickens.
we have like 300 chickens for every person, last time I checked. And we raise a whole lot of soybean and corn and a bunch of other things as well. Thank you for that. Thank you also for your support of the infrastructure bill, bipartisan infrastructure bill, and of the Inflation Reduction Act. Both are critical. We have authorized so much in money to invest in our nation's infrastructure, roads, highways, bridges, water, drinking water, water sanitation, flood control, all kinds of stuff. And we want to make sure, especially on the roads, highways, bridges side, that work gets done, and we're already doing, as you know, oversight to make sure the intent is followed through. So okay, we need
Absolutely.
Shailene in place, and this puts us one step closer to getting the kind of leadership that we need. It's been vacant too long, but thank you.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I would just say it's wonderful working on a committee that's worked so well together in a bipartisan way and gets things done all the time. We pride ourselves, Senator Bozeman and I, of trying to do the same, trying to do the same thing on the Agriculture Committee. But it's just such a pleasure to be on this committee because we, with your leadership, put our heads down and work and get things done.
Well, you say that it takes two to tango, and my dance partner on this committee, as you know, is just an extraordinary talent and a real pleasure. You have two kids from West Virginia that are have the privilege
dangerous.
of
Yeah.
running, or leading this committee. That's scary, but I think we're doing okay so far.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that might be it. I have a short statement I need to close with. Is there anything else? No. Okay. Again, I want to thank both everybody on the staffs, to my right, to my left, who have worked to make this happen and make it look, I hope to most observers, pretty smooth. And we've got a lot done in a very short while. But for a little bit of housekeeping before we adjourn, I want to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record letters of support for the nominations our committee approved today. I also ask unanimous consent that the staff have authority to make technical and conforming changes to GSA resolutions approved today. And again, thank everyone for your participation. So that's a unanimous consent request that I would make. And I would just note to everybody, I'm the only member here. So the only person who could object to my own unanimous consent request would be me. And I'm not going to object. And with that, I think we're ready to adjourn. And I'm going to tap the gravel to do that. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We look forward to spending the next several weeks together and hopefully getting as much done as a body as we've done in the last several years. Thank you all. We're adjourned.